Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today what we're gonna dive into is a different type of brewing with a different brewing utensil. And today I want to steal something from the coffee world and bring it into the tea world and show you how easy it is to actually brew a tea or a Japanese green tea also with this little beauty here. And what it is actually it is a French press. Cafetière, coffee press, coffee plancher. There are different words and the different names for this tool, but it is actually a tool which was invented in the 20th century, in the beginning of the 20th century by an Italian, and it has been patented in 1929 in its original form. And it is actually coming from the inspiration from a tomato press, and finally they developed out of this a French press or cafetière for pressing coffee and having a good coffee taste and a coffee cup out of this plunger. So what does it consist of? Super easy. So we have on the one hand we have the glass, where you just fill in the water. You have the holder of the glass. Sometimes it's even easier, it's even more simpler than this one here. But here we have these two parts, and then in the rest of the pot where we kind of can really press the coffee, or in our case it will be that we push down the tea, and there you have the plunger. There is a small sifter also put into it that the fine particles of the coffee cannot pass through, and these are actually pretty good as well for green tea, especially when we talk about fukamushi, so deep steeped green tea. There we have smaller particles for the green tea, so this plunger is actually very well done, or very well suited as well for green tea. So it's very simple, this tool, and we're gonna brew a tea. As it is already late, you see my windows are dark, so it's evening time, night time here in Switzerland, and we're gonna dive into a tea which is also bringing us a little bit less this caffeine content. And what wouldn't be better suited than a so-called twig tea, Kukicha, or stem tea. So this is actually a new tea which we are getting in January, but as I'm a little bit in advance, I can taste it a little bit earlier. And it is a tea I personally like a lot. It is a Kukicha with a very subtle and fine note. So let's have a look at the needles and the tea itself. So you can see a very beautiful tea in terms of mix between stems and leaves. So stem tea is always a mix between stems and leaves. Sometimes the ratio of leaves is even lower. This one here would say it's around 50-50, quite well between leaves and stems. And with Kukicha, the good thing is that the addition of the stems to the leaves, or the reduction of the leaves, and by filling it up with stems, then you actually can bring down the caffeine content below 20 milligrams of caffeine, which is like a fourth of a normal cup of coffee. So you can really lower this amount of caffeine in the coffee and have a beautiful tea if you're not too sensitive to caffeine, which you can even drink just before you go to sleep. Because the nice thing about this one here, and what you can see as well when I show the leaves again, you see the leaves, they're quite dark, so it's coming actually from a shaded tea, and the shaded tea mixed with the stems then give a theanine-rich tea. Theanine-rich tea is the kind of tranquilizer in the tea, if you might say so. So it's an amino acid which breaks through your blood-brain barrier and then gives a trigger to the alpha brain waves, which brings you in this more meditative and more calm state. Personally, I like it a lot to drink a tea which is shaded but not too caffeine rich. There's either, on the one hand, you can take a high caffeinated tea and you brew it cold, then much less of the caffeine is extracted, or you just take a tea like this one here, which is coming from a shaded tea, or even there are coming stem teas from Gyokuro or Kabuse Sencha, and these are called Karigane, but here we are with the Kukicha. But enough of the talking, let's go into the most interesting part of tasting a tea, is actually tasting it. So when we are using the French press, it's just super simple. So we take these 5 grams, which I prepared here. We put it into the French press, just show it here, voila, and we're gonna fill it up with water, 200 ml, 70 degrees Celsius, 165 Fahrenheit. And then we're just gonna wait for a minute. Put the plunger already on top of it. You can leave it away in the beginning, or you just can put it on it straight away. So you see beautiful floating of the stems in the French press. So this is something I like a lot. You see it a little bit at the top. So some stems are floating on the top of it, some are floating at the bottom. What we see is that there are a little bit more stems at the top and a little bit more leaves at the bottom. But all in all, we have quite a well mix. What I like to do sometimes, you don't shake it too much, but you can swirl it, and then you can actually let the tea float a little bit more. And then after 1 minute, super easy. So now we are already at the end of the brewing time, and we just push down the plunger. Maybe I do it in the front camera. You see it beautifully. So I take the plunger and I just push it down, and you can see, getting closer, you can see really how the plunger is pushing down the tea leaves, and it just stops above the level where it starts to squeeze the tea leaves. And this is super important. As soon as you start to squeeze the leaves, then you're actually pushing out a little bit the stringency. In this case, it's beautifully just cut out the water, but no squeezing of the leaves. And then you just have to look. There's actually a small filter at the front. I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah, now you can see it. So you just have to look that it's well put into, and then you just can pour a beautiful cup of tea. Voila. You see it fits perfectly in my small bottom glass. A little bit high. So you can use a little bit less water as well. Here I used really the max of it, which is this medal here has I think 250 ml max of filling capacity. With the leaves it's a little bit less, and didn't fill it completely, so I was around 200 milliliters. And let's have a first sip. What I really like about this Kukicha is this: when you're going into the world of the stem teas often have a little bit more of this haze, a little bit a harsher flavor, a little bit more of an intense kind of late summer grass, dry summer grass flavor profile. This can be interpreted as well as a little bit as dryness in the tea taste. But in general, these teas can have also a very soft touch to it. One thing you can do is, as I said before, you can use a Karigane, which is coming either from a Kabuse Sencha or a Gyokuro. And when they're coming from these teas, then they're much softer, much sweeter, a little bit higher in caffeine, but still quite low. And as soon as you go in the land of Sencha, then the tea can become a little bit drier. But here, in this case, we have a Sencha, so we have a Kukicha, which is coming from a Sencha, slightly shaded Sencha, and it has just a beautiful balance between a little bit this late summer grass flavor profile and quite a soft sweetness to it. And this is what I like about this tea especially. And it's so nicely balanced between the first part, which is a little bit this late summer grass, a little bit dry note, and this nice sweetness, and without moving too much in the savory taste profiles. So very beautiful in terms of rounded and well balanced flavor profile. So I personally like this tea a lot. And you see actually how super simple it is, and the French press If you don't have a Japanese kyusu, so a little bit this teapot with the side handle, then definitely a French press can be a first step into it. This is quite a luxurious model. It's coming from the brand Bodum. I think it's an Austrian or a German brand. But you can also go and buy just a French press, which is coming from a less known brand, but still does its effect, because the system is always the same. You always have the plunger, you always have the glass, or it can also be metal. With green tea, what I should suggest you, due to the polyphenols, which can react a little bit with the metal, to look for a glass one. And reduce the metal part, but you can also, if it is a cheaper option, definitely start with the metal French press and then go into the glass and a little bit more of the higher quality one once you tried it out and you've discovered for yourself that you really like to do your green tea with your French press. Voila! So this is actually already what I wanted to talk about when we talk about the second brewing. Super simple, I can show you this here. So we're gonna fill the French press again. I show it on the other camera. So here you just fill it up, same as before. Maybe this time I use a little bit less water. And the beauty about the second brewing is that it is super short. So we only take it like 20 seconds and then we're going to push it down. So you see very short brewing, and again just go and push down until the water is out. But still you see it's a little bit pushed down, but it's not squeezed. So it's nice actually. At the bottom you even see that there are more leaves, and now at the top there are a little bit more the stems. So the stems, they float a little bit easier than the leaves themselves. So let's finish this tea. You can even mix first and the second. What's also good about the French press is actually you can just empty it partially. You can still leave it there. As the water is really out, it doesn't really touch the leaves anymore, so there's no real post brewing. So you can also drink it little by little, which is actually an advantage when you compare it to a Japanese green tea teapot. But Japanese green tea teapot still has a beautiful notion to it due to the fact that the leaves can fully open. Here they're a little bit cramped slightly. They're not squeezed, but a little bit cramped together. Maybe not allowing them to give all their beautiful flavors in a complete way to the water, but the French press definitely leaves a lot of space as soon as the plunger is up, and the leaves, they then can unfold very beautifully and give their taste. What you have normally when you're going into a second brewing is that a little bit this haze, this late summer grass note, it goes a little bit down, because in the beginning the stems are pretty strong, the stems are very present, and when you have the presence of the stems, it can move a little bit more in this late summer grass note. Here we had a very nicely balanced Kukicha already in the beginning. Second is even a little bit dimming down also with the other Kukichas the same. It loses a little bit of this late summer grass note and gets a little bit more in the direction of a sweeter tea, which is very beautiful. And I really can feel kind of it has this calming, kind of very relaxing kind of way of being. And I really enjoy to drink this tea either when I do sports, which I do most in the evening, so if I go to the gym or something like that, or if I'm just having a relaxing moment in the evening, then the Kukicha can be a super good solution. So this is this. Small brewing, super simple. French press is a very simple tool, but it's a good tool if you want to start out in your journey of making green tea. So feel free to reach out if you have any question about which French press to buy, what I would suggest you, and don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And has been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for watching. See you and bye bye.